Now joined by Colts.com writer Andrew Walker. Andrew, thanks a lot for joining us here on NewYorkJets.com. And I want to start off with this. Obviously, the Colts' biggest free agent addition is Phillip Rivers. What will he bring to this Colts offense that maybe it was missing last year?
Yeah, I think it's just, the Colts entered this offseason, obviously 7-9 last year, start off 5-2. Things were really rolling. You beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. You head into your bye week feeling good, but then things just kind of stumbled from there. It's kind of the opposite of 2018 where, you start off rough and then you win 9 of 10 and you make the playoffs. So I think when Frank Reich and Chris Ballard kind of look back and evaluate totally kind of the offense and what was going on, the big play was missing. And the Colts are going to be really good at running the ball. That's always going to be their bread and butter, with Quentin Nelson, of course, up front and that offensive line. And it's just the way Frank Reich likes to go. But they needed a little bit more oomph, I guess, in the passing game. But they just needed a little bit more consistency. And it was a unique opportunity with Phillip Rivers in that, 37, maybe last year didn't have his greatest year. And, of course, the Chargers struggled as a team just in general. But I think it was a unique opportunity where you get a guy in Phillip Rivers that played under Frank Reich, under offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni with the Chargers in San Diego for at least 3 years with Frank Reich and a little bit more with Sirianni. You bring him in, he's a guy that will be a big leader for you. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you hope you can just get ready and roll with him. Rivers is a guy now that can just go in and play. You're not worried about it if he was a guy that you had no familiarity with. So I think the Colts see that as a plus too.
Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball and talk about DeForest Buckner. How surprised were you that he was available to the Colts? And, of course, they ran up to give their first-round selection, number 13 overall, to acquire him. And what is he going to mean to the defense? And also, what is he going to mean as far as intangibles in the locker room?
I don't think this is one of the most exciting other than when Chris Ballard couldn't wait to turn in the card for Quentin Nelson a couple years ago. I don't think there's a more exciting acquisition for the Colts and for the fan base. Obviously, Phillip Rivers is a bit, it's a quarterback, a free agent signing. I get that. But DeForest Buckner just turned 26, second-team All-Pro last year, one of the best at his positions. But what kind of strikes me is Chris Ballard entered the offseason. He knew on offense you need to have more big plays. Okay, you get Phillip Rivers, you get Michael Pittman, you help address that. But, it's on defense, he said, we have, in this 4-3 defense that the Colts run, you have to have a dominant 3-tech and a guy up front that just collapses pockets, that takes on double teams in the run game and makes plays.
Andrew, I think when a lot of people, at least externally from Indianapolis, think about the Colts defense, my eyes at least go to Darius Leonard in the middle of that defense. And I'm just curious what you make of this defense. And if you're the Jets, let's say, when they come to Indianapolis in week 3, how do you go about attacking that group?
Yeah. First with Darius, just talked about chip on his shoulder earlier with Phillip Rivers, but man, this is a guy that, and we've watched the Michael Jordan documentary, on ESPN, and he always finds a slight and always works off that. Darius Leonard, just his whole life has been a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't recruited really coming out of high school, tried to almost got into Clemson, but there was last minute paperwork stuff, goes to South Carolina State, stars there, doesn't get much recognition coming into the draft, but the Colts see a perfect fit for him at that will linebacker spot. And of course, people, Bleacher Report dogs that, the worst pick of the draft. He saves that screenshot, puts it in his phone, goes on to become NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year and first-team All-Pro. Last year, had some injuries early, but then was second-team All-Pro. So just a stud. He does it all. We're talking historic pace. We'll see if he can keep it up, but we're talking historic pace in terms of sacks, interceptions, tackles for loss, forced fumbles at the linebacker position. So if he can keep that up, we're talking, one of the greats at his position. I won't be surprised at all if Sam Darnold comes in week 3, if he's kind of doing more of a quick strike thing with the guys on the outside to try to make the Colts cornerbacks and safeties make plays, let a few things develop down the field. The Colts are going to make plays against the run. You're not going to be able to, rarely does a rusher get 100 yards against this defense. So you're not going to really run the ball with a ton of consistency. That's been proven the last couple years. But I will be interested to see how opposing offenses want to come in and challenge the secondary.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here on NewYorkJets.com, and hopefully we'll see you at week 3 and hopefully at St. Elmo.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.